bear with, just getting organised. Daughter sounds like she's dying. Okay. So, first off, we're all a bit rough in this household at the moment. Not feeling too good. All got flu. Daughter's really bad. Wife not too bad. Got high temperature and just feels there, as she puts it. And I feel like I've done a couple of rounds with Mike Tyson. All my joints are aching, so we're full of pills. And I rattle when I walk. So, but I did want to do a live. There's been so much going on the last few days, and so much bullshit, just so much crap. So I just wanted to jump on a live really, and you know, give you sort of a report from inside Russia rather than a Western media report full of nonsense. Because I do have the benefit of seeing all of the news rather than just like you guys in the West, one side of news. So yeah, we'll work through some things tonight. As always, I'll answer your questions as best as I can. But we'll start in the US. We'll start with Trump, with some simple stuff, I think. Most of you know I've never been a Trump fan. I'm still not a Trump fan. But as I've said for a long time, when people were very anti-Trump, and I'm not anti-Trump either, he learned a lot from his first go, let's call it that. And a lot of people have said that the guy hasn't got the intelligence and, you know, this and that. But as I've pointed out, he went into his first term in office with his blinkers on, believing that being the president of the United States, everybody would listen to him, nobody would lie to him, and he would be able to change things. And he quickly found out that that wasn't the case. So he learned an awful lot in his first term. Very disillusioned, I think. I think he spent the next term, the Biden years, literally defending himself and fighting them off, and again learning more. And now here he comes. Some of his appointments in the early days, you know, Kellogg and Waltz, seriously questionable. I myself went, what the hell? Because, you know, devout neocons, let's face it. But as I've come to realise and work out, Trump has effectively copied Putin. Now, this might come as a bit of a surprise, but when Putin came to power in Russia, he wasn't in power. He was the figurehead. He was the president-elect, but who really ran Russia were oligarchs. Russia was rife with crime and corruption, and the oligarchs had control. And Putin very cleverly took them apart piece by piece, one by one. Had he gone against them all straight away, he would have got absolutely nowhere. He would have been out probably next term, never to return. But he did it very, very cleverly, very carefully. One at a time, just separating them away, taking away their power just a bit at a time. And he just kept that momentum going, just a bit here and a bit there, until he was in a position where it didn't matter what they said. And that's what Trump's done. Trump has taken a leaf out of Putin's book. And that was part of the reason for appointing Kellogg and Waltz, in my view. It's my opinion. He, at that time, still needed Tulsi Gabbard, still needed Robert Kennedy, brain dead. Who's the other one he's just got? Anyhow, he still needed those people to be approved. So he still had to play the neocon game and let them think that he was on side. So the Kellogg and the Waltz really were a distraction so that he could get Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, the other one, FBI. He needed those people. I mean, needed them. Key positions, needed those. Because his plan was to bring this deep state down, to really do it. And to really do it, you need people in key positions that are thoroughly on your side. So the whole Waltz-Kellogg thing was a big distraction. And he played the game until he got these people. And once these people have been confirmed, you should note that the whole approach has completely changed. It was very much hard line. We'll fight Russia head on. You know, he was talking about troops going to Ukraine. It was all of this bluster and everybody, and that was all neocon language. And that was done for a reason, because he needed the neocons to be on his side a bit, because he needed to get these appointments. And had he done it any other way, had he said that, you know, he was going after the deep state and he was going against neocons, he would never have got these 3 appointments. You know, Kash Patel, vital. Tulsi Gabbard, vital. So he's had to play that game. And as I say, once he's got those people confirmed, that's his tight team. He's really close, tight, powerful team. Now you see the whole narrative flip. Now it is all about ending endless wars and pushing forward and pulling out of Ukraine. You know, I said over a year ago that the US was looking for an off-ramp. Just some of the language that was coming out, it was clear that they were looking for a way out. And as always, they need justification for that. And this is, you know, part of the corruption thing. Trump talking about where's all the money gone in Ukraine. He knows full well where the money's gone. You know, this isn't, oh, what happened to our money? He knows exactly where it is. But that narrative needs to be pushed so that people are used to hearing it, so that they get used to the fact that Ukraine is corrupt and this whole thing has been one big grift. And that needs to happen, because that's part of the excuse. That's part of the reason for going, we tried everything, however, this happened, this happened, this happened. They couldn't just walk away because, you know, there's outrage. Oh my God, you got them into it and all of these people have died and it's your fault and you're just walking away and leaving them. You need reasons. And that's typical standard operating practice. You know, America might not always have the best reasons, but they usually look for a reason, you know, something that they can put out in the media. So that's what's going on. But now we're beyond that. Now it's, you know, Trump's got his team and he's going after everybody. He's going after all of these people. As I always said, Trump is a businessman, but he's absolutely ruthless. And I said before, long before this happened, before he even got elected, woe betide when he gets elected, because he holds a grudge badly. And the people that have wronged him, he'll go after one at a time and he'll get them. And that's where we are. That's what's happening with Trump. Regarding what's going on in the US with the various agencies and everything, you know, I liken it to, as I was saying in the live stream the other day, I liken it to a bike crash that I once had, a motorbike crash, where I was speaking to a friend afterwards and he was like, oh, you know, how bad's the bike? And I said, well, it's easier if I tell you what's good on it. And that would be an indicator and a number plate, rather than, you know, what's bad. And that, I think, is the realisation that Elon's got. Rather than looking for, you know, looking for the corruption and looking for the bad, he's discovered that it's all bad. It's all just a viper's nest of schemes, and now he's looking for the good bits to build on. The rest of it is just going to get chopped off. It's a bit like filleting a steak, you know, and trimming, or rather trimming a steak, and that's what he's going to be doing. But I think there's going to be bigger cuts than little trims. So that's what's going on with that as well. Regarding Ukraine, I mean, let's jump to Starmer. Let's jump forward to where Starmer is now. His latest, we'll send troops to Ukraine kind of punt. I mean, that's some, you know, I've had spoken to a couple of people, you know, that have are genuinely concerned. You know, where do you think this is going? And it's being here in Russia and getting to see all of the news, not just 50% like you guys do. It's laughable. It honestly is. It shouldn't be laughable. People are dying. But you understand what I'm saying? The sentiment that Starmer is talking is just not based in any kind of reality. So, first and foremost, if you're in the UK and your children want to volunteer and go to Ukraine, don't let them. Don't let them. You're a parent. Don't let them. None of this, oh, I couldn't stop them and whatever. I'll tell you now, break their legs if you have to, because it's better that they hobble about for the rest of their life than be dead. Because if they go to Ukraine, they'll be dead. They die. It's that simple. There is no other outcome. They will be sent to the front with no training. 18-year-old British boys will be sent to the front, and they have been. You can't send an 18-year-old Ukrainian to the front because their constitution doesn't allow it, although they're just changing it at the moment, trying to offer 18 to 25-year-olds. But prior to this latest thing, nobody under the age of 25 from Ukraine could fight for Ukraine. But 18-year-old British boys can. How's that work? How's that seem fair, reasonable? Anyhow, if you go there as a mercenary, you know, I'm going to fight for a noble cause. No, you're not. You're fighting for media bullshit. But anyhow, let's assume you're a noble cause. You will go straight to the front because they don't care about you. You are the least of their interests. So you won't get any training. You'll be given some equipment, point in the right direction. This is the sharp end. Off you go. And that'll be that. And you will go into what can only be described as, everybody is described as, pure hell. So without going on too much about that, if you're a parent and your kids are talking this way, just don't let them. Just don't let them. It is better to stop them physically, fall out with them forever, and know that they're alive, than grieve forever for their death for absolutely nothing, because it will be for absolutely nothing. You know, I think Zelensky, the government, I don't know if they've done it or they're talking about it, paying this big amount of money to 18 to 25-year-olds. Well, that's something that the veteran soldiers in Ukraine don't get. So how do you think they're going to feel about that? So some 18-year-old is going to join up and get all of this money that I'm not going to get, and I've been here fighting for 3 years. It's not going to wash, is it? That's just, you know, one example. There's lots, but anyhow, don't let them do it. Don't let them do it. Kursk, you know, people need to understand what that is. That is just a political stick. You know, I've heard people saying Russia can't win this war, they can't even get them out of that region, and blah, 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 blah. And it comes from people that have no comprehension or understanding of what's actually at stake in that region. Ukraine has a vast control of a load of trees and some fields. And to do what? Nothing. I'll tell you what to do, to die, because that's what it is. That area is completely surrounded. It is this sort of shape, closing in at the top. That is the supply road, and I understand at the moment that supply road has now been cut off by the Russians. So all of the troops in there, you figure it out. But that's what that turned into. You know, the initial incursion wasn't expected in that region, which is why it did what it did, but it was quickly contained. It was obviously with one objective, and that was the nuclear power plant, regardless of any other bullshit they might come out with. You know, because that would be an absolute prize, wouldn't it, to destroy a nuclear power plant on Russian territory. Wait till the wind changes, they'd love it, wouldn't they? But that was the goal. That didn't succeed. Once that then, you know, got surrounded and contained, it's just been shrunk and shrunk and shrunk until it's now a nice little cauldron, and Zelensky keeps throwing troops into it for nothing, you know. So that's Kursk. That's the reality of it. It will stay open as long as Russia wants it to be open. It's got nothing to do with not being able to close that and regain that territory. It's a case of it suits Russia far more to leave that territory open and draw the troops into a cauldron where they're attacked from three sides. And now, like I say, it sounds like the road has been cut off, so the supplies are over. It served its purpose. God knows how many tens of thousands have been killed in that area, but it's been like shooting ducks in a fishbowl. Time and time again, and that's the crazy thing. This isn't the first, second, or third time. It's happened over and over and over again. The Russians do the same thing, and every time the Ukrainians do the same thing. So why would the Russians change tactic? It works so well. I'll catch up with your comments in a minute. Starmer. Shall we jump to Starmer, what he's saying now, or shall we just go? Let's say this. A lot of people, in the Western media are still saying, Ukraine can win this and blah, 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 blah. Does anybody actually believe that? Is there anybody out there that genuinely believes that? Because if you do, I don't know what you've been doing for the last 3 years, but you really need to go outside and give your head a wobble, because it's as simple as this. When this started, Ukraine was at its strongest militarily, and Russia was at its weakest. Had full support from NATO. Troops have been trained for years to NATO standards, fully equipped. And, the estimates are 550,000 troops on the Ukrainian side, where they started to ramp up the operation. Russia went in, marched to Kiev, parked their boots outside Kiev. We're here. And that was to get them to go to the negotiating table. That's what it was for. Putin, the state, the government genuinely believed that that's what it would take to get them to the negotiating table. And they were right, because that's what happened. Zelensky rocked up at the negotiating table. Istanbul came along. And yeah, that was all, that was all ready to rock. Part of that agreement was that Russia withdrew its troops from Kiev, which is what they did in good faith. And then along came Bojo and put a needle in it. So that was, obviously a miscalculation at that point. Russia wasn't expecting that to happen, and obviously had to withdraw territory. The big Ukrainian victory, we're going to march all the way to Moscow kind of thing. Well, obviously the lines of defence were set up, and they were never breached. They were never reached, let alone breached. So all of this talk of offensives and all of that, they tried and tried. Didn't even get to the first line of defence, let alone breach it. There were 3 lines of defence. So, if you think logically, if that was Ukraine's best chance, which it was, that was without doubt, and unless you're an idiot, you must understand that they were the best armed, the best equipped, the best trained, and outnumbered the Russian military. Now they are the least armed, least equipped, least trained, and significantly outgunned and outmanned by the Russian military. So they're in a completely polar opposite world to where they were. So if they couldn't break through a first line of defence when they were at their best and Russia was at their worst, what are they going to do now? Now that the US is obviously going to pull out. I mean, it's not rocket science, guys. I'm not a military analyst. I'm just logical. If they couldn't do it 3 years ago when they were at their best, now they're at their worst. Those best people, remember, they hadn't been to war. They were their best soldiers, and they're all gone. So what they've got now are conscripts, people they're dragging off the streets, old men, trying to get mercenaries from other countries, all of this kind of nonsense. So they're untrained people, nowhere near as good as their elite forces that have been trained for years. So, as I said 2 or 3 times already, how are they going to defeat Russia now? Just logic. That's all it is, just a logical thought process. It's just not possible. So all of these people that keep saying Ukraine's going to win, Ukraine's going to win, all you're doing, and the media is heavily responsible for this, all you're doing is killing Ukrainians and some Russians, without a doubt. People are dying. But you're not achieving anything. There is no, you're defending democracy, there is no defending Ukraine or anything else. All you're doing is absolutely, what state is Ukraine in now compared to 3 years ago? Absolutely smashed, absolutely destroyed. For what? For the media and for people to get rich. All of these EU leaders that want to siphon the money out, all of the grift, that's all it's about. Resources and making up slush funds for filtering money, as Elon is showing something like 60 million, I'm sure it's 60 million people are getting social security, more than the actual population of the US. What? It's just one big giant cesspit of money manipulation. That's all it is. It is not about democracy. It's not about saving poor Ukraine or anything else. Never has been. And I hope most people know that. But please, if you're thinking that this is some noble cause, it's not. The Western media has done a great job of killing people by promoting this, by selling it to, the British public as oh, poor Ukraine, they really need your help and anything you can do, and they really care about you. It's absolute crap. And how many Brits, and I'm talking Brits because I'm a Brit, how many Brits have gone to Ukraine to their death? And for what? Please tell me what has been achieved. If you can, please tell me what's been achieved. Ah, dear. Anyhow, let's catch up with some of your comments. So I'm, as usual, long way behind. Jarmo, hi. Nice to see you. Cool, put everything working like a worky thing. Fabulous, thanks for that. It's always nice to hear. Alex, evening. Pick up the Putin. Lala, hi. Sailor, hi. Decided to join this live. Let's see what's cooking. Do you still feel trigger happy about the ban bun? Let's find out, Sailor. Can you say battery without saying bat tree? Okay, well, I'm English, so I can say battery or I can say battery. All depends on whether you want the Queen's English, King's English now, or whether you want how English people speak. Because nobody, unless they're sitting in the hallowed halls of Oxford or Cambridge, say, oh, it's battery. Everybody goes battery. So languages evolve, and English is an absolutely ruined language. It has been chopped to death. Acronyms, it's literally the quickest way that we can get through a sentence. So consider yourself lucky with the way I speak, because trust me, there's a lot worse. Anyhow, thank you. Nevada Maverick, what's the general feeling in the UK about starmer sending troops to Ukraine? Nobody wants it. Simple. Nobody wants it. I mean, should we get into that? Well, let's do some more. Let's say hello, and then we'll get into starmer sending troops. Sean, evening, Chris. Good to see you again, and you. Liam Hawkins, 3-day operation. Okay, so you're talking about 3-day operation. I'm assuming you're referring to the at the beginning of the SMO. Russia said they'll do it in 3 days. Is that what you're saying? So just to touch on that, that never came from Russia. That came from General Milley. That was his thing. Never came from Russia. So a bit of research will help. Martin P, I start to have a feeling that US going back to common sense and cleaning the mess. Later on, they will reconcile with Russia and find common ground, and EU going to be for stupid. So the trouble is, the EU, Europe, have been far more vile and vitriol with their communications since this has happened. Much like the Baltic states. And all about convincing the public, get your flags out and all the rest of it, which is what everybody did. They've doubled down and tripled down and quadrupled down. And So would the US. But they've had a change in the US, and there is a leadership there that understands that that is the road to nowhere other than oblivion. And I said this, like I say, I don't know, 12, 18 months ago. I said it is a whirlpool. And when it started, they're all going around in their lifeboats, and the US went, boom, right, we're going to drag everybody into this whirlpool. And they turn around and they see Russia in a rowing boat rowing the other way already. And they were like, no. They were going down this whirlpool of financial ruin, and Russia was rowing the other way. Russia, sorted their economy out very, very quickly. They had a 2-week crash, as everybody knows. Oh, the ruble's dead and Russia's economy's over and all the rest of it. And that lasted about 2 weeks. I know, I took advantage of it. And they, they ripped the plaster off, they took the pain, and they dealt with it very quickly. Since then, obviously everybody else has just gone down the tubes. Tell me, are your bills better? They ain't, are they? They're worse. They've gone up a bit here in Russia as well, but nowhere near the level that they have anywhere else. That reminds me, I want to talk about CPC as well. So, yeah. Liam Hawkins tried to march to Kiev, yeah. Tried to march to Kiev. Well, no, actually, they got just outside Kiev, and then they agreed to withdraw troops as a gesture of good faith. Ukraine was a nice place until they overstepped their boundaries. Yeah. Bob, amazing how they don't ask to open the doors of the public to Palestinians. Well, if you're talking about Russia, I think the Palestinians have far better support from Russia than they do in the West. Ford, have you seen Real Reporter's video? No, I haven't. From yesterday with the analyst. No, I haven't. I'll be honest, I do not get a lot of time to watch other people's YouTube channels, unfortunately, or fortunately. I don't know, but I don't get the chance, really. Going Rogue. Hi, Chris. Long time seeing you live. Indeed. Nice to see you. Liam Hawkins. You're deluded. Absolute waffle. Okay. Well, I'm living it, mate. So, what am I deluded about? I mean, if you want to talk about delusion, how many game changers has the West introduced? Abrams tanks, Leopards, Patriot missile systems, HIMARS, all of these game changers can turn the tide of the war, yeah? But I'm the one that's deluded, yeah? Russia has not stopped going forward since September last year. It's probably a lot longer than that, actually, July, I think, where they started to put pressure on and started to push forward. And they haven't stopped across the entire front line. They're just moving forward. So I'm not sure where the delusion lies there, Liam. But I can tell you that on a recent trip around in our area, I drove past an air base that wasn't there, wasn't on the map, wasn't signposted, didn't exist, but it did. And I watched. I probably saw 100, 150 SUs of various shapes and sizes taking off and landing every couple of minutes. And that was just one place. So, this goes to, the point I'm making is this goes to Russia's running out of missiles, Russia's run out of planes, Russia's run out of this, Russia's run out of that. How many tanks has the UK got? They started with 40. I think they gave half of them to the Ukraine. And when I say they started with 40, I'm talking working models. They might have 160. But actually battle ready was about 40. 42, I think, was the number. Half of those they sent to Ukraine, which got turned into ashtrays. Who's delusional, Liam? I mean, I know what I see here every day. You'll never see it. I won't film it. You're all going to say, oh, yeah, of course you're going to say that. Yeah, but I live quite close to what goes on, and I see stuff. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm in the safest country on earth, because I know what's in between me and them. But anyhow, Liam, please please go and do some independent research. Turn your telly off. There are no winners. You're deluded. You have no idea what you're talking about. 3 years in for what? Really? Okay, well, 3 years in for what? So, what was it all about, Alfie? It was about preventing NATO expansion. It was about preventing Russia being broken up. It was an existential threat to Russia, and that's what it's all about. As for 3 years in and nothing gained, really? Really? Nothing gained? Economy throughout Europe crashed. Military throughout Europe destroyed, decimated. The US coming and wanting to make peace talks and pulling out of Ukraine. Russia advancing significantly, thousands of kilometers, square kilometers of territory ceded to Russia. 4 territories actually now in Russia, belonging to Russia under Russian constitutional law, will never be anything else. So I don't know what your for nothing is, mate. Don't know where you're getting that from. But anyhow, we need Putin in the UK as we're too soft. Well, you need anything other than Starmer. It's a simple answer. Anything. You know, I said before the guy was elected, he's a jackboot thug. He does not care about the UK. You have to understand that. People of the UK, this man does not care about you at all. You don't even feature on his radar. You're ants. Your ants operate in the big machine. You don't feature on his radar. His goal is to continue the globalist direction and stamp through the policies that have been set out to him. That's his goal. Not whether it's good, bad or indifferent. How much it destroys the UK, that's irrelevant. This is the goal. That's what they must achieve. And that's what he will continue to do. You won't get anything different. So until you get him removed, until they're, you know, until people switch on and work it out and start striking and, you know, making big demonstrations and big protests, and his own party gets rid of him, you won't see any change. And ultimately, will you see any change after him? Who's the next person in line? Don't know. But you need him gone. And the same is across Europe, really. You know, these talking heads. Stolz, Germany, he's going to be gone. Schulz, isn't it? Stolz, Schulz. He's going to be gone soon, isn't he? Hopefully the AfD get in. Macron, I mean, well, you know, hanging on by his fingernails. All of these people, they're all part of the same agenda. They all need to go. Starmer and Macaroni, lover boys in deep trouble. Nevada meet. The Munich security chairman crime was pathetic. Oh yeah, I mean, God almighty. It was like watching the election in America again, wasn't it? Where the celebrities came out and, oh my God, they're crying, oh, if Trump comes in, did I look good on camera? You know, YouTube shuts down. It's funny that. Happens every time I do a live. If I do a video and I mention any certain words, the video just doesn't upload and it's a nightmare. If I do a live and I mention certain words, certain topics, the live drops. It's completely normal. I was hoping at this time of night that I might be able to sneak through. Back now, yeah, there we go. Funny that, isn't it? But as soon as I start talking the truth, telling you guys what's really going on, yeah, I have a list of words that I mustn't use, and I've used one of them that begins with K. And I shouldn't have used that word because that doesn't help. Anyhow, where were we? Where were we indeed? Stream down. Kia, yeah, turned him off. Yeah, I'm back. Okay. Well, apologies for that, people, but unfortunately, this is what we face here in Russia. It isn't Russian. The connection, the internet connection, everything I have is absolutely fine. It is purely a YouTube issue. I can do this on Telegram with no downtime at all. So it's got nothing to do with my internet connection. I have extremely good internet connection. It is purely down to YouTube. What does that tell you? Anyhow, where are we? So, you want to know about troops being sent to the country next door, don't you? A lot of people have asked me about that. What do I think of it? It's just not based in any kind of reality, I think is the simplest way. to answer that question. Let's have a look at the military force of the UK. What are you talking? 70-ish thousand, roughly, give or take. Starmer is apparently committing 25,000. So a third of military in the UK, which is probably half of what can actually deploy. Because although there might be 70,000, they're not 70,000 that can be deployed. So 25,000 troops. Okay, let's just do some silly maths. 25 from the UK. Let's assume France can get a load together as well, and all the other countries. And between them, they managed to get, I don't know, 200,000. Let's say 300,000. Let's have a giggle. Let's assume that sod it. Let's say 500,000. Not a chance, but let's just do stupid maths for a while. 500,000 troops they're going to get, and they're going to get them and send them to the country next door as a peacekeeping force, which is code for a fighting force, you know. But Russia ain't that stupid, who ain't playing that game. But anyhow, let's assume, let's play ball. So they're going to rock up next door, and they are going to be outnumbered 3-1. Okay, because the Russian military totals about 1.5 million now. So they're going to be outnumbered 3-1. In a situation where they're being outnumbered 3-1 from a defensive posture. So to make a successful attack, you need to outnumber your enemy 3-1. So they're being outnumbered 3-1, coming to attack. So that ain't going to work, is it? Just on simple maths. But then factor in silly things like, what, 32 nations sending troops, all speaking different languages, never fought together, done a little bit of training here and there, you know, puffed their chest out, or let's have a NATO, you know, a NATO training mission for a week. What, you're going to get 500,000 troops fighting alongside each other, all speaking the same language, working as a cohesive unit. Not happening, is it? Let's be real. And that's just assuming everybody signs up to it and everybody sends this big fighting force. It's just not happening. That's the reality. It is physically impossible. Now let's get to the legal thing. So to be sent as a peacekeeping force, my understanding is that that would have to go through the Security Council. So that would have to be signed off. Russia has veto power in the Security Council. So what do you think the chances are that they want to send peacekeepers to the country next door and Russia goes, yeah, all right, and signs? The only way that would ever happen, peacekeepers, will be so restricted, and bearing in mind that it's not forever, they can only deploy for a certain amount of time. So the only way it would happen would be under Russian rules. This amount, for this amount of time, from this nation, from that, blah, 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 they would all be restricted. To do what? What are they going to do? 1.5 million Russian troops. No. So the reality is this latest yap from Starmer is a bit like a Baltic state yap. It's just noise. That's all it is. Just noise. It isn't based in any kind of reality. It just, I mean, it can't be sent as peacekeepers. The only thing he could do is just go, oh, we're going to go to war, which would be political suicide because there isn't anybody with an appetite to do that in Europe. So, yeah, it is just a last desperate attempt to create something to keep the US in, because that's what this is about. All of these European, you know, they just had a summit in Paris, haven't they? War party. Because they want to keep the war going. They are so upset that Trump wants to talk peace. Can you believe it? And yet they're there to save the country next door and to fight for democracy and freedom. And here's the peace, and they don't want it. They want continuation of war. So what's that tell you? For what purpose? For what purpose? Why would they want the country next door to continue fighting when it is smashed to pieces and has zero chance of winning? Zero. I mean, beyond zero. Zero chance. So why would you want to continue putting the Ukrainians through that? Money. There is no other reason, is there? Can't be any other reason unless these people hate Ukrainians and not love them like they say they do. Don't know. Liam cut the cable, yeah. Said it. I was going to buy a house in Wales with my Russian wife, but the way this country is going, I'm very tempted to move to Russia on a shared values visa. Well, I haven't looked back. I love this place. Ford, move to Russia, Zenit. No brainer if you have a Russian wife. That's a good start. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it helps. Sailor, what happened today? You seem to be irritated with someone or something. Oh, you always say this, don't you? Yeah. No, I'm ill. Got the flu. Right. I'll catch up some more chat. Let's jump to Zelensky wanting to do deals. Well, I mean, it's not even worth talking about, is it? You know, we'll swap territory. You've got nothing to bargain with. What territory are you going to swap? You've got some trees. You're in control of some trees purely because Russia allows you to be at the moment. So what have you got to bargain with? Nothing. Anything Russia wants in that country next door, Russia will take. It's that simple. So, you know, yeah. Stock market, you know, do we want to get into that? That's a whole new world. China to propose trilateral and be the guarantor. Yeah, Trump's not going to have that. Somebody asked me about that. China being guarantor of it, but, you know, he just wouldn't allow that. It's not going to happen. Chernobyl, black flag. Yeah, of course. What sense does it make for Russia now that they are talking to the US? They're in the best position they've ever been in to now send a drone to attack Chernobyl. Does that make sense in anybody's head? I mean, you know, genuinely, if you're watching and that makes sense to you, I don't know what I can say to you, really. Yeah. Yeah. Russia's going to invade Europe. What a load of crap. It's just another thing pushed by the European management. I call them that. The European management. Just, you know, desperate to keep everybody, you know, all of the public scared, in fear and hating Russia. That's all it is. Everything that you hear in Western media is to control you, is to convince you that Russia is some kind of evil entity, and so are Russians, and that you must hate them. That's all it's about. It's not true, what they're telling you, that Russia's going to invade Europe. No. For what? What, to take over a load of headache and debt? What for? Russia's self-sufficient. What does it want anything to do with Europe for? So it's all just scaremongering. That's all it's for. That's all it's for. Before I go there, 3 months of the year anyway. And that 3 months is better than the 9 months. I might as well make it 12 months a year. Whereabouts do you go, Zeddy? Ford is a tool and his dad was a tool maker. It's mentioned a few times. Well, peacekeepers should be neutral, maybe Chinese or Indian. Well, that's the only way they'd be allowed in, let's face it, Sailor. You know, all this talk of NATO peacekeepers, Russia has already said that's not happening. That is not going to happen. They will not allow it. And unless they have Russia's written permission, you know, an agreement signed where Russia says, okay, we'll allow that. If they try and send them in anyway, they will be deemed mercenaries and will be targeted. So, you know, if your lad is in the military and he's on about going there as a peacekeeper, stop him. Because he'll stop him. He won't come home. He'll never leave. Yep, Furby. Yeah, absolutely right. Mark, can you see this getting worse? No. I mean, I think it's the last month for the Second World War was the bloodiest month for the US, I think. So it always gets worse before it gets better, but we're beyond that. You know, what the ground and the gains that Russia have made, both militarily and with their own economy. I mean, you know, the country next door is destroyed. It's crushed. But it's not a flick of a switch, you know. It doesn't end just because people say it ends. There's still, you know, there's still fighting going on. But no. Simple answer. Simple adventures of a Russian American. I think Trump and Putin have some plans. I don't know what they are, but there's something going on. Well, yeah, there's definitely something going on. And I tell you what, in my view, will be going on. Trump will be doing what Trump does, which is he throws a lot of things in all different directions to see what sticks, and also to keep people confused. He tries and he aims for the sky, and then he withdraws back to a level where he hopes he can negotiate from. The reality is, what Trump wants to do is in the best interests of himself and the US. Got nothing to do with NATO, couldn't care less about NATO or the Europeans, you know, or Ukraine. It's not about negotiating on Ukraine's behalf. It's not about negotiating on the Europeans' behalf. Trump is talking on America's behalf and American interests, and how he comes out of this smelling the roses. That's what this is about now. Because Trump wants to go down in history as the man that saved the US and created and brought peace to the world. That's what he wants as his legacy. So that's what this will be dressed up as. How that looks behind the scenes, I don't know. I can tell you that Russia will not be leaving the 4 territories that it has now brought into the, you know, the constitution. It will end if Ukraine and the Europeans come to their senses. If they don't, then it will continue. It will continue chomping forward until there's nothing left. And bearing in mind, with the US pulling out, it ain't going to take long. So, you know, the writing's on the wall. Zeddy, I go to Tver, about 2 hours north of Moscow. Okay, it's lovely. Cold as well, I'm guessing. My wife has an apartment there, but she lives here. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's going to be chuffing cold there. It's cold here at the moment, and we are right down south. Michael McLean or McLean? McLean, I'm going with, because it looks like spelling of Lenny. Michael McLean. Are English welcome in Russia? I can only comment on my own experience. And the simple answer to that is I have never felt so welcomed and been so warmly received anywhere that I have been, ever. As I've said many times, it's been very humbling coming to Russia. The people have been lovely to me, and not, you know, not for any reason other than they are very warm people. Once they know who you are, or they've spoken to you, you know, if you need help, they'll help you. They won't get in your business. You won't walk past a Russian in the street and they'll say hello to you. In fact, if you say hello to a Russian as you're walking past them in the street, they'll probably look at you like you're a weirdo. That's just a cultural thing. They just don't do it. It's not what they do. They mind their own business. But every shop that I've gone into, they've either been very stoic and efficient, or they've been incredibly friendly, but certainly never hostile. So I think the simple answer to your question is yes, absolutely. Wyatt, do you worry about being so close to next door? Seems like drones will over. So drones, let's talk about drones. So we've had some drones. We actually get an alert here. It comes up on the phone that basically says unmanned aerial vehicles in the area. Stay away, stay indoors. don't go out, stay away from the windows, you know, move into the centre of the house kind of thing. That's kind of, it's a very short and simple alert, you know, that lets you know they're in the area. There has been a very recent attack in the last day or two on a oil stroke gas thing, don't know, hub, refinery, control point, whatever, which is called the CPC, which, if I remember rightly, is the Caspian Pipeline Consortium. There you go, CPC, Caspian Pipeline Consortium. And what that is, and this is the genius of our lovely people next door, and bearing in mind, I think they did like 7 waves of attack on this thing, with a lot of ball bearings packed in with the explosives, which was clearly designed to take out people, not things. And being an oil refinery, it's not manned by military troops, it is manned by civilians. So yet another war crime. Just saying. Not that anybody cares because it's Russia, but, you know, I'm just saying, yet another war crime. Anyhow, they've attacked this thing and put it out of commission. That is the, my understanding is, it is owned 50% by Exxon, 25% by Texaco, 20% by Kazakhstan or something. Anyhow, long and short of it, it's not Russian. It's not pumping Russian oil or gas or whatever the hell it's pumping. It's not Russian. That was sold. So it might be on Russian territory, sucking stuff out of Russian ground, but that was sold to the Americans, effectively. So what the loonies next door have managed to achieve is biting the hand that feeds them. So they have just bitten, well, they've bitten the US, effectively, because it hasn't affected Russia. In fact, quite the opposite. Trump was on about, you know, wanting to reduce oil prices and all the rest of it to hurt Russia. It won't, because Russia doesn't rely on oil and gas as its economy. But anyhow, we'll move on from that. It won't do that. But now they've got a lot less supply going to Kazakhstan and then out because they've blown it up. What do you think that's going to do to the oil and gas prices? Not going to reduce them, is it? So either the silly idiots next door didn't think about that, or they've got some other kind of plan. But ultimately, they've attacked a facility that doesn't belong to Russia. And here's the best bit. Obviously, I'm guessing that the people that own it want to repair it as soon as possible, because they're losing a shed load of money every single minute of every single hour of every single day. But Putin has said, well, you've got sanctions in place, so you can't send us the parts and we can't repair it because it's not ours. I think that's hilarious. I think it's absolutely hilarious. So, yeah. So nobody injured, which is why I think it's funny. Yeah, that's been turned off and it's not affecting Russia at all. So, genius. Well done. Great move. So, sorry, Wyatt, in answer to your question, I don't worry about it at all. You know, the chance of one of those things landing on my head is the same as me being struck by lightning. I never walk the streets being worried about struck by lightning. So, yeah, it's the same scenario. I've seen what's around my area. I hear what's around my area. I do not live in fear here at all of anything, you know. Despite what the West says, that this might be a war zone and all the rest, it's absolute crap. People are going about their daily lives completely normally. And I feel far safer here than, well, like I say, anywhere else I've ever been. You know, I can walk out the streets at night. You know, the community is wired differently here. But I'm not in fear of anything like that, despite being, you know, you've only got to look on the map. If you want to know where I am, type in ANAPA into Google Maps and Napa, and you'll see where I am. I'm on the coast of the Black Sea. So have a look at that. But no, I am not in fear, because, like I say, I have seen a lot of stuff. So, you know, and right from the beginning, I saw a lot of stuff, and I still see a lot of stuff, which I won't comment on too much. Simple Adventures of a Russian American. Yes, I agree. Cool. Ford, Putin holds all the cards and Trump has no carrots. Yeah, he's been feeding them to the donkeys. Furby, probably won't be much NATO piracy against Russian ships anymore. No, funny that. Zeddy, it's cold there now, but when I'm there in the summer, it'll be 30s. Okay, yeah. So you have quite big swings there, whereas here it's a bit more normalised, which I prefer. It was Kazakh, Russian, US hub. Yeah, thank you, Furby. Yeah, I knew what it was, but not what it was, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. Nay, bold barins. No idea what that is. Wire, thanks for sharing, dude. My pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Did the beach get cleaned up? Yes, it did. They're still cleaning. Simple. They've got, I can't remember how many scuba divers they've got now, where they're cleaning the seabed underwater. So in case some of you didn't know, there was a massive crude oil, 2 tankers collided in the Kerch Strait in a storm, and they broke up and put I think like a 60-mile oil slick, which came, where we live. And has been devastating, a massive ecological disaster. I'm sure you all heard about it on the news, about Greenpeace needing to come in and help with the operation, and I'm sure everybody changed the flag in their bio to show support for the birds and the dolphins. So you all know about it anyway. But for those that don't know about it, which is everybody in the West, this oil slick came ashore, big ecological disaster. And it's been a massive clean-up operation, which still is ongoing every day. But yeah, when I first went to the beach, I mean, there's a couple of videos on my channel about it. It was really distressing, really distressing. But it's made huge progress. They've done really well with the cleaning, but there's still a lot to do. So yeah, thanks for asking, mate. Zeddy, yeah, big swings. I'd rather that than the UK, where it's constantly cold, wet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. The UK's damp. It's the weather is yeah. You get days in summer where it's ridiculously hot, but not that many. But it's a very humid, damp sort of climate, which here it's not. It's very dry heat here in the summer. Not humid, and in the winter, well, this is the worst of the winter that we've had. It's the coldest it's been in something like 12 years, the coldest winter in 12 years. I don't know, I think that's our region, but it's like -11 or something with the wind chill, so chilly. Yeah. Simple Adventures, do you think Trump will remove sanctions from Russia? Yes, so that flying to Russia is easier from Europe. Right, so that's got nothing to do with Trump. That's the Europeans. The Europeans are the ones that banned Russian aircraft from landing at European airports. So simple answer is Trump will make it a lot easier for US citizens to be able to come here. They'll fly via Istanbul, Dubai, which they're doing at the moment anyway, but that process will probably get easier. The sanctions will get lifted. Russian planes will be able to enter US airspace at some point, blah, blah, blah. It really depends how long it's going to take for the EU, whether they're going to come to their senses or whether they're going to have to be forced to come to their senses. I don't know. But ultimately, there is only one outcome from this. It's not going to go any other way. It's just how we get there. But yeah, Trump will definitely lift sanctions because it's in his interest to do so, and that's all he cares about. Cares about the US and how he will look. Doesn't care about the Europeans at all. I wouldn't say no to your Napa weather over those big swings though. Yeah, it's nice here, mate. It is nice. Sergey, how are you getting on? I'm getting on very well, thanks for asking. How about you? Furby, Alex C mentioned MasterCard and Visa are chomping at a bit to return. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Visa and MasterCard, of course, they want to return. There's more to that than appears at face value. Visa and MasterCard are partnered with a crypto. No, that's not fair. With a digital, what would you call Ripple Labs? Look up Ripple Labs and then work out what you want to call them. But for simple terms, Visa and MasterCard are partnered with a cryptocurrency transfer service. Payment provider, cross-border payments. That's what XRP is used for. But that's not its use. That's just part of its use. But anyhow, I'm digressing. But yeah, they're partnered with a crypto firm. So that firm was trialled in Russia in 2018. You know, am I putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5? Don't know, maybe. You could argue that Visa and MasterCard have lost a shed load of money through not being here. Definitely. Will every Russian drop their Mir card in favour of a Visa and MasterCard? No. So they are going to come back to a different economical environment. They are not going to have the market share that they did have, you know, the absolute monopoly that they did have, because Russia has now found other ways, and people like their Mir card. So I have one. I like it. Ford, what do you think will happen with Odessa? That is going to depend on whether the country next door, its leader and the Europeans come to their senses or not. If they insist that they will continue this conflict without the US, if the US pulls out, sorry, not if, when the US pulls out, which it will, in some way, shape or form, and they insist on continuing the conflict, which is what they want to do. They want to continue the grift. They want to continue the conflict. That's evident by all of them meeting in Paris at the moment, working out how they can continue the conflict rather than go, oh, Trump's made communication with Putin, we can get peace. I don't want that, want war. So if they can continue the conflict, yes, Odessa will be under Russian control. How long that will take really depends on how fast Russia goes. Russia doesn't fight a war like the West, which is why all of the Western analysts, military analysts, have been wrong, because they're basing their analysis of what would happen based on how the West would fight a particular conflict. Russia doesn't play that game. Russia plays a different game. So it doesn't move at the pace. They're not interested in territorial gains or stuff like that. You know, it's about breaking up the military. It's not about necessarily gaining 100 foot of trees. Yeah, if the situation continues, Odessa will be part of Russia. That is no question. Pension News, nice to see you. Nice live. Hope this EU nonsense all falls apart. It will. Because it's not sustainable in any way, shape or form. You know, they couldn't sustain it with the US help. So without the US, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Send troops to Ukraine to die? You know, 100,000 troops, Russia will get through them in about 2 months. So it's just not, it's not a reality. It's just desperation, pure desperation, trying to garner support and trying to keep the Americans in. That's what anything you hear is, the sole purpose is trying to keep the Americans in Ukraine. That's what it's about. Nothing else. Because if they can't keep them in, then that's it, the grift is over. Ford, it is a Russian city after all. It is, yeah, it is. Catherine the Great. Will make travel to Russia much easier. I don't, well, is it difficult at the moment? I suppose it is, because you can't just fly direct to Moscow like you used to be able to. But it's not the end of the world. You know, you've got to change in either Istanbul or Serbia or wherever else. But it's not, you know, it's not like a massive inconvenience, is it? But yeah, if it goes, sanctions get lifted, things get easier. But certainly I think US citizens will find it easier first. The EU needs ending, bringing back the Yugoslavia, yeah. Bring back Yugoslavia. Why was not an option just not to start the SMO in the first place? What would save lives? Well, that wasn't an option, was it? Because the Russian government had been telling, been saying for 9 years since Maidan, no, 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 no. Minsk agreements, you must honour them, you must honour them, you must honour them, you must honour them. Do not do this, do not do this, do not do this. We will not accept NATO next door. We will not accept a nuclear armed NATO next door. Da, 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 don't do it, don't do it. You know, how many times do you have to say, don't do it, and be ignored for years before, ultimately you say enough is enough? And even then, what happened was, a march to Kiev to say, we're serious. At which Kiev went, yeah, we can see that. Okay, let's talk. And then Bojo came and put a spanner in that. So, the alternative was to sit and do nothing and wait for the invasion of Russia, which ultimately, really, everybody in the West needs to be thankful that didn't happen, because Russia's nuclear doctrine is very specific. And had an invasion taken place into Russia, they would see that as an existential threat to the existence of Russian Federation and Russian people, and all weapons go. And that means none of us are here. So despite people going, oh, it was an invasion, it was an invasion, it was never an invasion, but, hey, let you call it that. If that didn't happen, we wouldn't be here. We'd all be gone, because the plan was for Ukraine and NATO forces to come in at Russia and break it up. So, yeah. Michael would love to go to Moscow when all this crap ends. Yeah, it's a beautiful city. I didn't see that much of it. I'm not a city guy, to be honest. I don't like cities. There's too many people. I don't like people. I like cats. They're all right. But people tend to let you down, don't they? So, yeah. Who knows what they will let Trump do? It's like ping pong here. Yeah. The difference this time, White, is that he has a lot more power and is a lot more clued up. The way he's played this game this time has been very, very good. He took a leaf out of Putin's book. Putin came into power in Russia and broke the oligarchs down bit by bit, because he knew that if he went after them all, he'd be gone. It wouldn't last. So he had to do it a bit at a time in a very stealthy sort of way, until he got to a point where he was more powerful than they were, and then he could deal with them, and continues to deal with the corruption on a daily basis. I won't speak too much of what happens in Russia in that regard, but it's daily. And Trump took a leaf out of Putin's book in that regard, and has done it the same way. He's been very cautious. And been very confusing with what he's been saying. So the neocons never really knew what was going on. They thought, oh, we've got Kellogg. And then Trump sent Kellogg around to all the European countries to have all these meetings and talk about Kellogg's ceasefire agreement, which was never going to wash, because Russia has already said no ceasefire. Won't happen, because been bitten with that before. So, but that was a distraction. All the Europeans got to meet with Kellogg, who was representing the US, and this is our ceasefire agreement, and we're going to force this on the Russians and force that on the Russians, and blah, blah, blah. And the Europeans went, oh, lovely, oh, this is fantastic news. Oh. Meanwhile, Trump was arranging to speak with Putin. So it was all a smoke and mirrors. But he had to do it that way, because he didn't have his team. He didn't have the full team. He didn't have Tulsi Gabbard. He didn't have Kash Patel as FBI director at the time. He was waiting for these people to be confirmed. So he had to play ball, because he needed to get those people. But now he's got those people, so he's got his tight team. He's got Elon the Butcher Musk, who is just running riot, isn't he? Let's face it, it's absolutely brilliant. He's running around with his big chopper going, yippee! Kid at Christmas, he's been let loose. Right, go in here now, Elon. Oh, okay, yippee! And everybody's like, oh no, all the corruption is just blowing out everywhere. It's hilarious. It's really funny. So yeah, always with Trump, always look at what he does, not what he says. Always. I've always said that. Simple Adventures, yeah, me too. I have a mother in Vladimir that I haven't seen for 29 years. Wow. You haven't seen her for 29 years. Where are you? Mark Runnels. I often think and wonder that the American government are viewed as the bully in the playground. Absolutely. By the rest of the world, they are. Absolutely. And that's the thing with a bully in the playground. When you're in your first year and your third years are bullying you and they've got half a dozen mates and you're new at school and you get picked on and bullied, that's what happens. But as the years go on, the kids that get bullied end up growing and getting bigger and stronger, and they start to club together with the other kids that get bullied, and then the bully gets bullied. And that's exactly what's happened. The world has grown up. Time has moved on. Financially, time has moved on. We're in the midst of a massive change to the global financial system, which happens about every 100 years, roughly, as a big change. If you think what we're dealing with now to exchange value compared to back in the Stone Age where we were using pebbles and rocks, and then tablets hammered out and then swapping goats and chickens and all of that. We've moved on and we're just about to move on again. So lots happening, and the world does see the US, and certainly has seen the US as the bully, but everybody else has got a lot stronger now and they can't be bullied anymore. So Stuart, nice to see you. The UK Army, excluding volunteer reserve, would not fill Wembley Stadium. Correct. And that's in total. That's not deployable. That's what people have to remember. That is not deployable. In other words, not ready to go into battle. So you're looking at approximately a third would be fit, ready to go on, 24-hour notice. About a third. Well, Russia's not in that position. Russia has 1.5 million troops now working. And sign-up rate for the army is around 25 to 30,000 a month. Because it's good pay, good contract. So yeah, that's that's people volunteering. There's no conscription here. That's people volunteering. So yeah, if you take the UK, if you said 100,000 across the board with everything, and then probably 25 to 30,000 deployable out of that, not going to do a lot, is it? Really? Take Russia, well, less than a month to chomp through that, unfortunately. Furby, it will make the money issue easier, not just Trump. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Visa, MasterCard coming back obviously makes a difference. The sanctions being lifted will definitely change things. Have to remember, SWIFT is a banking system and it's controlled by banks. So I don't know. And also SWIFT is going through some changes as well. Cryptocurrency, digital assets, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's a scam or not. Simple fact is it's part of everyday life. You may not know it, but it is. It's all operating in the background already. That's the new financial system. So SWIFT will be part of that, probably. Highly unlikely that it will just disappear. So it's just interesting times to see what's going to happen with currency transfers and how money moves across border. But US certainly wants to get the money moving, because otherwise the dollar disappears, doesn't it? BRICS aren't going to produce their own currency. Some people go, BRICS currencies it's not going to happen. There's no need for it. There's a much better system out there. There's no need to have, you've seen the disaster that the euro was. So there's no need to have one currency, and BRICS won't do that. They will stay with sovereign currencies, and they will use a bridging asset to transfer funds. So yeah, that's far more nobody has to keep reserves of a currency or anything. You just operate on a pool of liquidity, and yeah, that's far more efficient than having one currency and everybody operating on one currency. So that's not going to happen. Wyatt, what are your thoughts of Russian troops leaving Syria? Six and 2 threes, isn't it, really? Syria really, Assad got too comfortable, didn't he? Got a little bit too complacent. Yeah, I mean, that's a different thing, really. I need to look at Syria a lot more and see really where it is. And that's probably a polite way of me saying I haven't really got much of an idea about that at the moment, other than what I know about it so far, and that's not enough to form an opinion, really. So yeah, it's not that bad. Azerbaijan Airlines are pretty good. Okay. Skynet Cyberline Systems. Hey comrade, how's it looking in your area? What are your thoughts on the election results? Obviously, I'm assuming you mean the Trump election results. It's the right thing for the world. If you change nothing, nothing will change. And I think everybody knew and knows that there had to be a change. The world could not carry on under that administration. It was pure evil in every single direction. Pure evil. That needed to change. You've now got an administration that is pro-Trump and pro-US. And, he's just going to do whatever he believes is in his and the US best interest. So for the rest of the world, it's not necessarily a good thing, but for the US, definitely is. And let's face it, if you elect a leader, it's because you want him to represent you and have your best interests, isn't it? So that's what the US has got now. So yeah, the other option wasn't an option, ever an option. Never, ever an option. Because, dear, we would be in a whole world of trouble now. If Cam Ha had, oh dear, doesn't even bear thinking about. Really doesn't. Euro-Asian clown. There was never a plan to invade Russia and break it up. Really? Really? Oh dear. Euro-Asia, you need to do some research, mate. You need to do some research. You need to go back. Niet means niet. Not 1 inch further. Blah, blah, blah. NATO expansion. Yada, yada, yada. Maidan coup. Overthrowing of a legitimate, democratically elected government. Just go and do some research, mate. You make yourself look silly. Scott Chegg, the UK can't even defend its borders against blow-up boats. We would have no chance against the bat-hardened Russian army. Scott, so, I mean, first of all, Russia is not going to invade Ukraine. Invade the UK. They've got no intention of doing that. First and second, they wouldn't need to. If there was ever war between the two countries, missile technology now, negates anything. So, all of this surface fleet boats and all of this nonsense, let's have these big aircraft carriers and let's have these big battleships and all of that. It's all a pointless exercise. Technology has made that now obsolete. You go back 100 years 200 years when they're sailing galleons around. Yeah, Britain, that's how Britain came to power. It was a mighty naval country, but their mindset seems to be still stuck in that. The politicians still have that in their minds, almost. That Britain is this great power because they still say it, our strength is our island. We're strong in our island. No, you're not. You're 17 miles from Calais. There's no strength there. What you think is a strength, what used to be a strength, is now a weakness. That's the simple thing with the UK. Where it used to be strong by being surrounded by water because you could stick some ships in it and sink other ships. Now, with missile technology, that is a trap. You are now stranded. So you're cut off from supplies. How do supplies get to you now? You know, should a war break out, for example? It's this isn't 1940s anymore. It's not like an old steamboat chugging across the Atlantic for fucking 4 weeks. It's just a different world. Missile technology has completely changed modern warfare, and boats are obsolete, completely obsolete. A waste of time. They are just, to look good, on military day. Otherwise, waste of time. So yeah, what was Britain's strength years and years ago is now its absolute weakness. There is no strength in being an island anymore. It's a weakness. You got nowhere to run. You got nowhere to get supplies from. So yeah. Why doesn't sound like JD Vance went over too well. Yeah, it's quite common, mate. People don't like hearing the truth, do they? And he spoke a lot of truth. In a very politically correct way. He was very guarded in the way that he said it, but they're still screaming. Why are they screaming? Because it's true. Simple, isn't it? It's true. Furby, people are happy. People around the globe are happy to see it shredded. Yeah. Oh, you're in Colorado? Okay. Colorado. Sam's Russian Adventures just posted a video about my story. I was adopted when I was 8. I'm trying to get a Russian passport to go back and see her. Ah, yes. Now I know who you are. Indeed. I'll give you a bit of advice. Simple Adventures of a Russian American. Never bite the hand that feeds you. Sam, I know him. He's a wonderful human being. His best intentions sometimes are badly conceived and badly executed at times. And I am constantly saying to him, don't get involved in that. It's only going to go bad for you. Don't get involved in it. And I'll tell you now, I advised him not to get involved with you. Because he is a genuine 100% person. 100%. He selfishly helps other people at his cost every single day. I know who that man is, and that's why I'll call him my friend. And that doesn't happen a lot. But he is a very, very wonderful human being. And he was treated really badly. Very badly. He didn't deserve that. So, as I say, don't bite the hand that feeds you. And if you can make amends with him, I strongly suggest that you do that. Because he's a wonderful guy. He's a very, very genuine guy. He didn't deserve the treatment that he got. Euro-Asia. Russia has lost nearly 1 million troops already. Has it now? Well, I've got news for you, Euro-Asia. They must have found them again. Maybe they gave them all maps. I don't know where you get your numbers from. I mean, yeah. It just... nobody in, even in the political analysis, the military analysis or anything, would agree with that number, anything like that number. Satellite imagery of gravestones. All of these numbers are just thrown out by Next Door. It's all nonsense. I mean, the other day, the leader of Next Door said that Ukraine had lost 43,000 troops or something. I think he was talking a month. But I think, I think he meant a month, but he was talking about since the conflict started, which is just ludicrous. Like I say, satellite imagery of cemeteries, obituary columns, all of that kind of stuff. How many people are being claimed for death benefits, and there's 1,000,001 ways to get the numbers reasonably accurate, and you are so far away, it isn't true. I can't tell you how far away you are, but that information, that number that you've got, is plucked out of Next Door's arse, basically. It's just nonsense. Harshad, lots of love from India. Thank you. Oh God, sorry mate, I can't say that name. Eliyahu Paremsky. Sorry, should we dance? I don't dance, mate. That's my sum total of dancing. Stuart, breaking news from the Daily Mail. Oh God. Rubio said that the US and Russians agreed on 4 principles during their meeting as they start the initial steps towards a deal. First, he said the US and Moscow will work to re-establish their respective diplomatic missions in each other's countries so they can move forward with more communication. Yeah, so, I mean, US has got to do more than Russia, really, because the US seized all of Russia's property. So the US needs to unfreeze that for a start, don't they? But yeah, you know, you can't have dialogue if you've got no channels to have dialogue. And second, if citizens want to actually go and communicate, how do they? So that's a good step. Second, Rubio said the US will appoint a high-level team to help negotiate. Yep, I think they already have. And third, they will begin to discuss geopolitical and economic cooperation that could help resolve the conflict. Yeah, so I think they've already got their team, haven't they? Just haven't officially announced it. But Kellogg ain't it, which is funny because he's the envoy for Ukraine. But that was all to keep the neocons happy. That wasn't based in any kind of reality. That was just to keep the neocons happy. And they all thought, oh, wonderful, we got a man on the inside. Yeah, no, you got a puppet. He's the fool guy. Fourth, he said that the 5 people who were involved in the first meeting will remain engaged, saying, no, it's moving along in a productive way. Yeah. So you won't, yeah, like I say, they've already got their team. They just haven't officially announced who it is, but I think everybody knows who it is. Land of Hope and Gloria's Lover, God Save the King. Okay, mate. Good for you. Furby, the plan to break up Russia, many centuries old. Indeed it is. Yeah, they haven't let go of it. There's not a single Gen Z who wants to fight for the UK anyways. I don't think there's many Gen Zs that are capable. They've all been destroyed by the woke community, haven't they? You know, all of that nonsense. Can you imagine? Dancing into battle with a unicorn dress on. Russia is getting hammered by superior technology in both Ukraine and NATO. Wow. Including missiles. Really? Superior technology, what, like Patriot systems that don't work, that Russia have overcome, and HIMARS that everyone gets shot down. Is that the superior missile technology you're talking about? Honestly, mate, you have no clue. You are, unfortunately, reading too much Western media and believing it. Yeah, I suppose. Well, if you have a look at my channel, I recently went to a drone manufacturing plant. And have a look at that, see what you think. Britain proper strong always has been, always will be. No, unfortunately. Always was when it was a mighty sea power, but the world has moved on, and Britain hasn't. And as I say, missile technology negates the sea now, so surface fleet is irrelevant. Yes, it's an economic powerhouse for sure, but that can all change in the blink of an eye as well. So yeah, it isn't unfortunately the big player in the pond anymore. There are others that have come up. Debilco, bro, my cousin is on the front lines in Ukraine, forced to be there, and he said they don't even have working guns or vehicles, weapons misfiring all the time. Yeah, there needs to be an awful lot of people going to prison for what's been happening with the media as well. There need to be a lot of these media people, in my view, put in prison for the lies that they have pushed, the evil lies that they have pushed, that have caused thousands of deaths, hundreds of thousands of deaths. They're evil lies. Because ultimately, without the media pumping it out of the TV and on newspaper, people would have to go and research themselves and find some independent research and make their own mind up. But instead, they've had it spoon-fed to them, but they've had one side spoon-fed to them. And unfortunately, most of what has been reported, the vast majority of what's been reported, is lies. And that has resulted in a lot of people dying. So in my view, these tabloids need to be held to book. 100%. They need to be dragged in. I mean, what's the Wall Street Journal just misquoted Vance, J.D. Vance's quote? I can't remember what it is, but everybody has come out and said that's not true. That he didn't say that. Well, that shouldn't be allowed. That shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't be allowed to just say, "Oh, sorry, we got it wrong," and issue an apology. When it's a deliberate attempt at manipulating the truth, that should be pure and simple in court. And if that involves prison time, great, because it will deter them. And I don't want to hear freedom of press, because you can take your freedom of press and shove it. I'd much rather have independent media, thanks. I don't want freedom of press because they're all a bunch of lying scumbags. Here we go. Euro-Asian. Honestly, Euro-Asian, Putin threw it would be all over after 3 days. He never said that. That came from General Milley in the US. Putin never said that. So, again, more Western media that you're reading. And here we are 2 years later. He's been beaten back and hasn't made any progress for the years. Wow. Is that right? Okay, so the 4 territories that now are part of the Russian Federation, Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporozhye, and is it Kharkiv region or Kherson? I'm not sure, but there's 4 regions, so haven't made any progress, no. So those territories haven't been recaptured. Okay, right. What about, was it Touretsk has just fallen? It's another one. Oh, there's hundreds of them. But yeah, I haven't made him, but I can't be bothered, honestly. Oh, yeah. Right, okay. Euro-Asia, I'm just going to remove you because I can't be bothered to listen to you because you're a fool. And gone. There we go. Yeah, as soon as the troll starts just, I'll happily have dialogue with anybody, but once you get somebody that's just so brainwashed that, they're just regurgitating Western media BS, I can't be bothered. I'm too old to put up with crap. Yeah, Debelka, Russia did more for our country after World War II than anyone. When the Allies let Germany invade us and did nothing, decimated our population more than other countries. Yeah. Brother Slavs. Yeah, I'm connected to, yeah, let's move on. But I understand what you're saying. Very, very much so. I know you know him and his video is not true. His video is not true. I did send him money for the phone and his service. I paid him 200 for his service. So he posted my story. Dear Lord, uncle. No, he didn't post your story, but he refunded you the money. Or is that wrong? Is that a lie? Yes, you did send him money. And he told you what he was going to do with it. And my understanding is that he refunded that to you. Tell me if that's a lie or not. Posting my story for views, I can't believe it. If he was so offended by me, then why post my story? Well, it's only you saying that it's your story for a start. And the reason he's spoken about it is because of the way he was treated. When you try and help somebody and they just treat you really badly, you kind of question your own sanity and think, what have I done? What have I done wrong? What did I do wrong? The guy gave up his petrol, countless trips, his time, his money, because, petrol's not cheap. Well, it is here, to be fair. And yes, my understanding is you did send him some money. The amount that you're stating is maybe not accurate, I don't know. But he also showed you what he did with that money. He attempted to visit, from my understanding, many, many times. And I think you treated him appallingly. And it's as simple as that. I'm not going to get into a bum fight with you, sweetheart. You need to search your soul and understand whether you think you were fair. But that man's genuine. He's not a scammer. You called him a scammer many times. He's not. He's a very, very, very genuine guy. And all he was desperately trying to do was help you. That's all he wanted to do. So you search your soul, sweetheart, and find out and see if you think you treated him fairly. If you think you did, then you can sleep well at night. And maybe you just don't care. I don't know. But, yeah, thanks for letting me know what he said. That's absolutely hurtful. Tell him to delete my story. I'll tell him nothing. He's his own free agent. I can't imagine that he's going to necessarily want to listen to too much of what you say. I personally would have just blocked and deleted you after the way you'd spoken to him. If you'd spoken to me like that, I'd have done the same. Like I say, all he was trying to do was help you. I don't see how you can see that in any other light. You sent him money he didn't ask for you. I didn't ask for any money from you. You sent him money and said, do this, which he did. And he actually suggested buying the telephone, which was a good suggestion. And then because of your, as I understand, constant pressure, calling him a scammer and everything else, he actually sent the money back to you. So you got all your money back. So it doesn't matter if you sent somebody £10 million. If they've refunded it to you, you've given them nothing. So he is out of pocket financially. He's put a lot of time in on your behalf for absolutely nothing, and all he's had is a load of abuse from you. I'm sorry, but you need to have a look at yourself. You really do. You need to see that's not the way to treat people, and not good people either. And as I say, I won't be telling him anything. Irvin, nice to see you, mate. Just now got a notice you're on. Oh, wow. Yeah, good old YouTube. Hope you're doing well. Hope the knee's all right, mate. DeBilco says the BBC. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the biased broadcasting corporation. Most of the English I know love Putin. They think for themselves. Well, yeah, not all. Unfortunately, there are a lot of sheep. Chris, Britain is weak. Glory to Russia along with Putin. I gave it back. Oh, you gave it back to him again. Well, that's really gracious of you, considering he spent a lot of money on your behalf. Do you not think you should have done that as an absolute minimum? But you've just admitted that he actually refunded it to you. So, I don't know many scammers that would have your money and then refund it to you. You just need to just pull your neck in a little bit. Because you'll end up getting blocked on here as well. So just pull your neck in a little bit. I send him money back. I send him. Oh my God, talk to Sam on my word. I paid him. So you're admitting you've paid him back. So clearly you're admitting that he refunded you, as I said. So your stance is that he was a scammer and he took money from you. He didn't. You paid him money. He spent it in the way he told you that he spent it. And then you called him a scammer and basically a thief. So he gave it back to you to prove that he wasn't. And now apparently you've refunded it to him again. You absolutely should have done, sweetheart. That's the absolute bare minimum. The guy put himself out to a lot of trouble for you. A lot of trouble. So that's the bare minimum. There's no glory in that, giving it back to him again. All you've done is reimbursed him for his costs that he's incurred. What about his time and inconvenience? What about the emotional distress that you've caused him? You need to take a step back and take some time out and have a breath. He has been absolutely amazing for you. Amazing for you. I don't know anybody else that would have put up with it. If you contacted me and spoke to me the way you spoke to him, you'd have just got blocked. So he's been amazing to you. And the best thing you can do is just reel your neck in and just be very, very thankful that you came across such a good guy. You keep saying he got paid 200 quid, but he refunded it. Oh, okay, righto. So now you're going down this route. I paid him double what he refunded me. Sweetheart, do you know how many trips he made? It wasn't going next door, was it? How much do you want to travel for an hour for your time, fuel, costs, printing, photographs being printed. How much money would you want? Anyhow, while we're talking about it, Zeddy, have you ever been to Moscow? Yes, I have, mate. But only briefly, as we were passing through. Tig could have treated him to a cup of tea and a felch. You have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, stop. Yes, I did call him a scammer. There's no glory in what you're saying. I'm not trying to get glory, sweetheart. I'm just merely pointing out that you treated him really badly. Really badly. And if you don't think you did, then I'm sorry, I can't help you. But, you know, my advice to you is to just recognise the way you treated somebody that was trying to help you. And the way you continue to treat somebody that's trying to help you. And I understand that he has gone round there and he has helped you even more. But like I say, right at the beginning when you first contacted him, I told him not to. Because I genuinely thought it was going to be a lot of trouble for him and a lot of hassle for him with no gain. And that bore out to be exactly the case. It was. So, anyhow. Block me and wait for a new video. Great. Hello. I haven't blocked you yet, but you're teetering on the edge. Paid him for his service. Did you now? Really? Okay. You think that that was adequate, do you? Thank you. The knee's getting better. It's slow work in progress. Still doing PT twice a week. Yeah, it's a long road, mate, isn't it? It's major invasive surgery, isn't it? So, yeah. Right, where were we? Is there anything else left to cover on this stream? Swap, Poroshenko, sanctions. Yeah. US. Talks. Yeah, where's the money coming from? Indeed. So I'm just checking notes to make sure that there's nothing here that I want to cover off. Done that. Yeah, no, that's about it, I think, guys. Just wanted to go over some of the points. Oh, dear. Sorry, sweetheart. Goodbye. Yeah, go and talk to Sam. Yeah, no, that's about it. Covered off what I wanted to cover off. Thanks for joining me. It's an impromptu live. And just there's so much rubbish being thrown around after, you know, Trump has obviously been elected. So much bullshit in the media, and you're going to get even worse now in the Western media. It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. But it is all a lot of posturing, because ultimately the things that are being bandied about in Europe aren't actually possible. They're not legally possible, and they're not physically possible. You know, sending a fighting force to Ukraine without the Americans and this, that, and the other. It's just not a reality. It's not based in any kind of reality. It's just pure desperation. So take it with a pinch of salt, guys. Throw it over your shoulder. You know, today's news, tomorrow's fish and chips. So, yeah. Hey, Chris, my wife has a question. Okay. Do they have anything like Cold Stone Ice Cream Shop? Cold Stone Ice Cream Shop. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I think I know what it is. I think that's where they have a big, like a piece of marble or something, and it's frozen from underneath, and they pour gelato onto it, or gelatin or something, and then turn it over. Is that what you mean? If it is, I haven't seen it, but obviously my travels aren't very wide, and I haven't looked for it, to be honest. There's plenty of ice cream here for sale in the summer, but I haven't. I think I know what you mean, but I haven't seen that. I've just seen it, you know, served up. But it is. I tell you what, I have noticed. When I first came here, the ice cream here has got so much flavour. much more than I was used to. So that's something I did notice. You know, really strong flavours. Really, you know, normally ice cream, certainly in the UK, it's a bit wishy-washy. You know, it's got a flavour, but it's lucky that the thing has got a label on it to tell you what the flavour is that you're looking for. But out here, you don't need a label. You know what it is. It's really deep flavours, and really cheap. I think last summer, I think 5 scoops of ice cream, different flavours you could have in the same cone, was 100 rubles. So just over $1 now, because the dollar's backwards against ruble at the moment, isn't it? So yeah, just over $1 for nice ice cream, which I didn't think was too bad. Happy with that. Furby, that's right. Yes, kinda. Chris, like I've said before, if Britain decides to go to war with Russia, I'm joining Russia. I know wrong from right. I will never help Nazis. No, the same. Indeed, I feel very strongly about that, and yeah, I will. You know, I don't intend to go to war for any politician. I'm too old. Simple. But you know, if it comes knocking on your door, you've got a choice to make. As the saying goes, I'll dig my boots in the ground and fight for my home and my family. So, yeah. Yeah. Someday, hopefully soon. Yeah, Mike, we need to catch up. Message me. Send me a message, mate. We need to catch up. I hope you enjoyed the videos I sent you, by the way. I know they're a bit, probably a bit boring, but, you know, just trying to give you a bit of an idea of the local area, driving about, some ideas as well. But if there's anything you ever want to know, mate, just ask. Just send me send me half a dozen questions, whatever you want. It's not a problem. Don't ever think you're inconveniencing me. You ain't. Simple as that. So, yeah. If I can help you in any way, let me know and I will. That's the same for anybody. If anybody has any questions, you know, I'm a Brit living here in Russia, in southern Russia. If you've got any questions, something you want to know, if you want to know about applying for temporary residency, I've just done 3 videos, just done the last one, that sort of talk you through the process of how I've gone about it. Yeah, just join my Telegram group, drop me a message, and ask away. You can ask me on email if you wish. You'd rather send me an email, but please don't do a war and peace email with 20 questions, because I'll just probably respond by saying, I type with one finger, please join Telegram. Yeah, and the other thing is, be specific. If you've got a question, you know, don't be general, because you'll get a general answer and it's not really going to tell you a lot. So, you know, be specific. You know, if you say, what's the cost of living in Russia? Too many variables. But if you ask me what the price of bread is in my local town, that's more specific. So yeah, just if you've got questions, make them specific. You know, too general is just, it's a lot of back and forward, and you don't really get the answer that you're probably looking for. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, I'm more than happy to answer people's questions. So yeah, join my Telegram group and fire away. But that's all for tonight. Like I say, impromptu live. I wasn't planning on doing a live. In a family of sickness at the moment. I'm drugged up to the eyeballs at the moment, and I think I probably need to start taking some more in a minute. So I'm starting to ache again. But yeah, thanks for joining me. It's good to see you all. Please have a look at my channel. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.